Are you ready to laugh at old age?
Yeah.
Good afternoon, my name is Tom Coleman, and that's the title of our program today, Laughing at Old Age. And that's our choice. We can either laugh at it or we can feel sorry for ourselves. And it's my sincere hope by the time we finish this program that laughter will have won out. I prepared 2 hours of material for this afternoon. No, honestly, I can only remember a half hour. We'll get you all out of here on time.
With bathroom breaks, I hope.
We'll get you out of here. Now, I myself don't mind getting old. It's just that my body is taking it badly. I'm a pickleball player, and my mates have told me I've lost a step. That's a euphemism for I don't get around the court as quick as I used to. Lost a step, my eye. I lost an entire staircase. I'm not saying I'm in bad shape, but come trash day, I stay away from the curb. At my age, I've seen it all, I've heard it all, I've done it all. I just can't remember it all. I've given up drinking. I found that if I stand up real fast, it has the same effect. I'm losing my hair. Either that or my forehead is growing. And the few hairs that I have left I've taken to naming. And as far as the opposite sex goes, the only female chasing me these days is a mosquito. That's about it. I have a dilemma. I'm trying to determine how it is that I'm over the hill, but I don't remember being on top. That's a dilemma. It's a dilemma. Only good thing about being over the hill is you move a little faster down the other side. But I, personally, will never reach old age because I've always believed that old people were always 15 years older than whatever age I was at.
Amen. Amen.
No doubt about it. True terror. True terror is when you wake up one morning and realize that your high school classmates are now running this country. That is scary. Go into your memory bank for me, if you will. Do you remember an afternoon delight? Ah, yes, the good old days. I can see a lot of smiles. These days, an afternoon delight means you're taking a nap. How times have changed. And I'm sure some of you have the same issues with balance that I have. I've been staggering around for years, it seems. But I did find that if you have something to do on the floor, should it happen that you fall down, it will look like you planned it all the way along. Planning is everything. Have you ever considered that getting old takes absolutely no effort? There's no work, no toil. Just one day, poof, we're old. Growing old is inevitable. Now, growing up, that's optional. I've been down that road, let me tell you. A couple of quick quotes. Clint Eastwood, who just turned 92. Old Clint says, get up in the morning and get going before the old man gets you. Mark Twain had a lovely line of saying, never regret anything in life that made you smile. Like that. The great Hollywood actress Bette Davis put it very succinctly when she said, old age ain't for sissies. Got that right, Betty. And the last quote is from Eleanor Roosevelt. Eleanor, we don't quote her very often, but Eleanor had a good one when she said, young people are works of nature. Old people are works of art. Speaking of art, growing old gracefully is an art. Growing old disgracefully is a blast. I'm sure along the way you've heard the expression, with age comes wisdom, right? An old adage, we've heard it a long, long time. But I gotta tell you, I've met some people along the way whose age had to come all by itself. Very little wisdom there. And note for our young folks, don't fool with us old folks. We didn't get to where we're at by being stupid. No siree. Man is standing in front of his house. A beautiful lady walks by. His pacemaker opens the garage door. Now, we don't have any problem storing information. We're pretty good at it, as a matter of fact. It's retrieving it that might give us a little bit of problem. But there's no truth to the line that with old age comes forgetfulness. Not so. Don't believe it. What makes us forgetful is all of the stupid things we have to remember. That's what makes us forgetful. Yes, sorry. Ladies are playing cards over at the community center. In the middle of one of the games, one lady leans over to the other and says, "Excuse me, dear, I've known you for years and I cannot think of your name. What is your name?" And the other lady, of course, glares at her and then says, "How soon do you need to know?" Two guys walking down the street, two buddies, and one guy says to the other, "Hey, you know, you got a suppository in your ear." Other guy says, "Oh, gee, thanks a lot. I really appreciate that. At least now I know where my hearing aid went." A lady of a certain age tells her girlfriends, "Be careful of swimming. It's dangerous." At our age, the lifeguards just don't try as hard. On their 50th wedding anniversary, the wife tells her husband, "I'm having an affair." He says, "Are you having it catered?" Now that's old age. And that's old age. And in case you're wondering if you're in old age, I'll give you a couple of hints. You're in old age if you remember when the Dead Sea was just a little sick. Or when your back goes out more than you do. Or if you get up in the morning and you're dragging and you feel like the morning after, but there was no night before. Or if you spend more time resting than you do getting tired. Oh, I like this one. If you're in a hostage situation and you are the first one released. And the last one is, if you get on an elevator and start to sing along with the music, that is definitely a sign of old age. Lady says to her husband, "Let's run upstairs and have some wild sex." He says, I can do one of those things, but I can't do both." A lot of help that guy is. And then there's this elderly gentleman who's being complimented on his brand new alligator shoes. And he smiles until he realizes he's barefoot. Lady goes to her attorney and says to her attorney, "I want in my will that my ashes will be spread on the Walmart parking lot." Attorney says, "Why would you do that?" She says, "That way I'll know that my daughters come visit me at least twice a week." And a lady friend of mine told me that she feels lucky when she walks into a room and she knows why she's there. You know that feeling? We all do. Yes, we do. And we all at times become nostalgic. We all go back to the past. But when you do, go all the way back. Go back to geometry. That'll cure your nostalgia. There's no doubt about that. Lady goes to her doctor and says to the doctor, "Doctor, will I live to be 100? Doctor says, "Well, tell me, do you drink or smoke?" She says, "Oh, no, 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 no." He says, "Do you go out in the sun a lot, play golf or tennis?" "Oh, no, 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 no." He says, "Do you have wild sex or do drugs?" "Oh, no, 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 no." Doctor thinks for a minute and says, "Tell me, why would you want to live?" Lady friend of mine told me that she had the dreaded furniture disease. I said, "What's the dreaded furniture disease?" She said, "That's when your chest falls into your drawers." I mentioned earlier that I'm a pickleball player. And if you haven't played, or get an opportunity to see it played, it's a lot of fun to watch. It's usually played at our community center, it's played in local parks, and it's usually played with seniors, and it's usually played mixed doubles, so you have 4 people on the court. So if you get an opportunity to watch it, the first thing you got to remember is don't try and figure out the scoring. It's unfathomable, just let that one go. But if you're watching, at some point you'll see all 4 players standing stick still, not a sound on the court. They forgot to score. And they'll stand there until somebody says, "Well, if I started here, the score must be such and such." That lasts about 10 seconds before someone says, "But you didn't start there." Back to standing still. Till somebody suggests a logical score. 4 heads nod, and the game continues. Great game, great fun. Difference between pickleball and tennis is, in tennis, nobody laughs. They're real serious over there, those folks. Lady friend told me that she went over to the community center to sign up for a new exercise program. She said the instructor said to her, "Make sure you wear loose clothes." She said, "I told him, if I had loose clothes, I wouldn't be coming to your class." Last week I was walking through the park, and in the park there was a little old man sitting on a bench crying. Really crying, so I couldn't walk past. I had to go over and ask, "What's the matter?" And he proceeded to tell me that after his wife died, he was alone for the longest time. And then he met this marvelous lady, and they hit it off, and they wound up getting married. And he said, "She's great in bed, and she's a great cook." And I said, "That's all wonderful. Why are you sitting here on a bench crying?" He said, "I forgot where I live." Lady says, "Some mornings I get up grumpy, but most mornings I just leave it there." Lady goes to the doctor. She's religiously every year just for a checkup. So she's there for a checkup. The doctor takes the stethoscope, puts it to her chest, and says, "Deep breaths." And she says, "I remember." Eons ago, way, way back, man used to take sticks and bang the ground and curse the gods. They called it witchcraft. We call it golf. I love the game at times, I play with my brother-in-law, and that's a religious experience. Every shot he takes, he hits the ball and yells, "Oh God!" No member of the club is walking through the clubhouse after playing 18 holes. The pro says to him, "How did you find the greens?" The guy says, "Pretty easy. I walked to the end of the fairway. There they were." Two old guys finish playing on a hole. They get back into the cart. The driver picks up his pencil and says to his partner, "What'd you get on that hole?" Partner says, "Depressed." Gonna be a long day. Golfer and his caddy are out. Golfer says to the caddy, "I'd move heaven and earth to break 100. The caddy says, "I'd concentrate on heaven because you've moved all the earth." Same two guys are looking for a lost ball. Caddy says, "Here it is." Golfer walks over, looks at the ball and says, "That can't be my ball. It's too old." Caddy says, "We've been out here a long Yes, indeed. They get to the next hole and the golfer is ready to tee up. He stops in his motion and says to the caddy, "Would you stop looking at your watch? You're distracting me." Caddy says, "Not a watch, it's a compass." A woman says to her husband, "You're not going to go play golf again today. You were gone all day yesterday." He says, "But honey, today we're playing the second hole." Talk about a long day. Yes, sirree. A truism of golf, a true law that never, ever, ever fails. The slow foursome will always be right in front of you, and the fast foursome will be right behind you. It works every time. The easiest shot in golf, the fourth putt. If you miss the fourth putt, you should probably go home. And then we have putting. The first rule of putting is never buy a putter until you have the opportunity to throw it. Very important to learn how to throw it. Two elderly guys are out playing, and one guy is getting ready to set up to drive, and he says to his partner, "Hey, keep an eye on this for me. You know, my eyes are gone. I can't see what's going on." Partner says, "Don't worry, I got it." So the guy tees off. He says, "See that? I have no idea where it went. Did you see it?" Partner says, "Sure, I saw it." He says, "Where did it go?" Partner says, "Oh, I forgot." First thing in the morning, the man leans over in bed and says to his wife, "Golf course or intercourse?" After a slight pause, she says, "Don't forget your hat." A couple of golf quotes. Phyllis Still, a very funny lady. Phyllis says, "The reason the pro wants you to keep your head down is so that you won't see him laughing." That's why your head's down. Jim Dent, a pro golfer, says, "I can airmail a ball. Just sometimes I put the wrong address on it." And Bob Hope had the old famous line of, "If you watch a game, it's fun. If you play a game, it's exercise. If you work at a game, it's golf." No doubt about it. Yes, sorry. And then, of course, there are people who do not see golf the way I do, and they will tell you something like, "It's a nice walk spoil." Yes, but I think of golf as education. First, you're reading the greens, and then you're writing down some fictitious numbers. And then finally, you're using arithmetic to total your scorecard using your personal abacus. Reading, writing, arithmetic. Sounds like education to me. We'll put golf away. They tell us that things are getting better. We're getting back to normal, whatever that is. And one of the things that we're doing is we're back to flying. And I love flying. In the old days, In the days when a gentleman wouldn't get on a plane without wearing a suit and a tie. These days you go to the airport, you go to the boarding gate, and the outfits you see, I think I'm crashing a teenage slumber party. That's what it looks like. And then we have the wonderful TSA agents and their scanners, right? Isn't that fun? I have 2 new knees and 1 new hip. And when I park in the airport parking lot, I swear those scanners go off, I'm sure. And then the worst part about it is you know the scanner's going to go off, but you got to go through anyway, right? You know the feeling? So I walk through, all the bells and whistles go off. The guy says, "Would you stand over there, sir, so someone can pat you down?" So I stand in the middle of the floor feeling like an idiot waiting for someone to pat me down. And along comes this guy with the biggest smile I've ever seen. Oh great, I get the one guy in this airport that likes his job. And he starts patting me down. And the further, when he gets about halfway down, his smile's getting bigger. I'm starting to think he thinks he found a revolver. So he finally says, "Enjoy your flight, sir." And I walk away trying to make sure all the parts of my body are in the same spot they were when I left the house this morning. Yes, indeed. What fun, what fun. Elderly gentleman is out working. He's long past retirement age, but he still likes his office job, and he's still working, and he tells his 8-year-old granddaughter about his office job. And she asks, could she come see it? And he says, sure. So they set up a date. Off to the office they go. Everything seems to be going fine until the little 8-year-old stops in the middle of the floor and starts crying. So Grandpa goes over and says, "What's the matter, dear?" And she says, loud enough for the entire office to hear, "Where are all the clowns you said you work with?" Enjoy coming to work tomorrow. And then there's the gentleman who's got a new hearing aid, and he's at the doctor, and the doctor says, "Boy, everything looks good." The guy says, "It's great, Doc, it really is." Doctor says, "Family must be overjoyed that you can hear again." The guy says, "I haven't told him." Doctor says, "What do you mean?" Guy says, "Well, I'll tell you, Doc. I sit in the living room in the evening with my hearing aids in, but they don't know it. And they sit in the kitchen talking." Guy says, "I've changed my will 3 times so far." And then there's a lady lying in bed one night, and a man crawls in next to her. She says, "You're drunk." He says, how do you know?" She says, "Because you live next door." Back to your memory bank. This is something to put in. Very important. Most important. Never take a laxative and a sleeping pill. Put that in your memory bank. Very important. New subject. Let's talk about television. Remember, in the old days, we called it the boob tube. I don't even think it has a tube anymore. But because of our age, we spend an inordinate amount of time watching the boob tube. And I don't have to tell you, it's not easy to find something decent on the boob tube. But I did find a film clip of the takeoff of the spacecraft that took up the new telescope, the James Webb. This took off from Houston, beautiful flight. And the telescope is now in place 1,000,000 miles from us. You probably have seen some pictures coming back already. But the telescope is supposed to be able to tell us at some point the origins of the Big Bang. What great stuff. When that information becomes available, I'm going to be in front of that television waiting to hear this information. And you know what I'm going to get? I'm going to get a gecko telling me how to save on car insurance. That's what I'm going to get. And then we have that wonderful Medicare enrollment period. Isn't that a wonderful time of the year? They drag out people we thought were long dead. And these people say things like, call this number and it's free, free, free. Everything is free. The number is an insurance agent. When's the last time you called an insurance agent for something free? Not happening. But there are some good things. I'm pretty religious about watching Jeopardy. I enjoy Jeopardy. And I think I can get about 30% of the questions correct. But of course that comes with the proviso that there is a half-hour time delay between my brain and my mouth. But I'll get there eventually. And the other clip that I saw was a clip of Betty White. And great, funny lady. And Betty White passed away not too long ago. And in this clip, she was talking about how everybody said she's been around forever and she's been on every show. And she said, I've heard that so often that I was actually thought at one time of having my headstone read, at long last, she's finally gone. Betty White, a true treasure. Last thing for your memory bank, very important. You've got to stay positive. Very important in life, as we all know, but it seems to me as we get older, it gets harder and harder to keep positive. But it's necessary. I'll give you an example. Last week I fell down some stairs. Didn't hurt myself, but the first thing I said was, wow, that's the fastest I've moved since I was 65. And the trick to positive living is you got to get rid of the negatives. I'll give you an example. You're in the house. The phone rings, you pick up the phone, what's the first thing you think? Who died now? That's a negative, we gotta get that out. So we take the same scenario, you're in the house, the phone rings, you pick up the phone, the first thing you think is, where's that lottery ticket I bought yesterday? Now we're cooking with gas. Last week I started compiling a list of all of the things that I couldn't do anymore because of my age. I ran out of paper. I still have a full deck, I just shuffle a hell of a lot slower. I've got two final quotes for you. First one is from Mark Twain. You gotta admit this man was prolific. But I love this one. He said, there are two theories for arguing with a woman. Neither work. The man knew what he was talking about. And the last quote is from Maurice Chevalier, the great French singer and entertainer. He made a handful of great American movies. But Maurice said, we don't stop laughing because we get older. But we get older. Well, we get older if we stop laughing.
Amen.
Somehow that works. I didn't get it right, but it works. Sorry, Maurice. Really sorry. One last quick joke, and we'll call it a day. Oh, I feel the same way. A friend of mine told me he got on an elevator recently. There was nobody on the elevator but a very attractive lady, a very attractive, well-built lady. And he said, I got to admit, I was staring at her cleavage when she said, would you press 1? The guy said, that's the last thing I remember.